Like, you don't need to have like huge deep stories into it because they drive the story enough, playing their roles in this movie.
That's a pun. Hi, this is Randall here for No Market Media.
And I'm Matt. Today, Randall and I are going back to the 90s, taking a look at the film Speed. It stars Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, Dennis Hopper, Jeff Daniels, and Joe Morton. It's directed by John DeBont in his directorial debut, also known for Twister, The Haunting, Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, as well as the Speed sequel, Cruise Control. But before Randall and I go any further, if you like this review, be sure to give us a like. Those likes really help us out. Also, be sure to hit subscribe and ring that bell to get notifications when our latest videos come out.
In Speed, we find a bomber's plot that is foiled by Jack and his partner Harry. The bomber comes up with a new plan to extract his revenge on the two of them. His goal? Get the ransom money that he believes he's deserved by putting a bomb on a bus that cannot drop below 50 miles per hour or risk setting the bomb off. And for everyone who's not on Imperial units, that's about 80 kilometers per hour. Gotcha. It had about a $35 million budget and a $350 million box office return. But since the 90s are getting old, just like Matt and I want to do some inflation numbers for you. That's a $66 million budget and a $657 million box office return, which puts it pretty squarely in
Marvel money!
Marvel money. Speed was very well liked by critics, kind of pretty well received by audiences, and it won 2 Academy Awards for sound and sound effects. There is, of course, the aforementioned Speed 2 Cruise Control. It is literally one of the worst sequels ever, so the less we talk about it, the better.
I haven't seen it, but I don't think I'm missing much.
I'm going to make Matt watch Speed 2 Cruise Control. And the screenwriter for Speed, Graham Yost, cites the 1985 film Runaway Train as his influence or inspiration for Speed.
So, Randall, should we do our first impressions now?
Oh, no, Matt. Before we do first impressions, it's time for a segment that I haven't got to do in a while. Cars and Movies!
Cars and Movies!
There are 3 cars that I would like to cover today. Number 1, our main character, played by Keanu Reeves, drives a classic Ford Bronco. Now, is the Ford Bronco of that era fast? No. Is it cool? Absolutely. That thing has inspired multiple films. There's actually a list of famous Broncos in films, and is the iconic design inspiration for the new Bronco that was just released this past year. But driving one in this movie just shows that his character is a down-to-earth kind of guy. And that's important for later in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The second car of note, very interesting, only shows up in the first, maybe 20 minutes of the film. A Jaguar XJ-S V12 HE convertible. Say that 12 times fast. Now, listen, these cars, these V12 engined Jaguars, are notoriously some of the least reliable cars ever. But when you look that good, who cares? There is no doubting that car is unquestionably a beautiful car. And there's a reason that there's a huge culture around LS swapping them. Get rid of the terrible Jaguar V12, put an LS in, and you got yourself a beautiful, reliable car. But the star of the show, the absolute takeaway is, of course, the bus. Now, I didn't know I was going to do the bus, but when I started looking into it, I found out that this was known as the GM New Look bus, and it was produced in Michigan.
Woo-hoo!
Pontiac, Michigan, to be exact, from 1959 through 1977, and then continued production in Canada from 1962 to 1986. which is crazy. There are still some of these buses on the road today. It's amazing. But it also makes sense then why the filmmakers would use this bus. You think it's a tough, iconic bus. Yes. But there goes one level deeper. The last order for these buses was fulfilled in 1986 and sent to Santa Monica, where this film takes place. Thank you for joining me for this dramatic Cars and Movies. Now, back to the first impressions.
Alright, Speed, pretty well-known film, and watching it, it's still an enjoyable movie for me to watch. Now, watching it a little bit older now, I think the movie does have some shortcomings, but I can completely overlook those shortcomings because I think it's to make for a more enjoyable movie, and it is an enjoyable movie for me to watch.
So, for me, you gotta remember when it came out, this was definitely kind of a first of its kind movie. You know, maybe you kind of think of it's like Die Hard on a Bus. I'm sure there are plenty of critics who probably described it as Die Hard on a Bus. But it's silly. But it knows it's silly and plays it with a very straight-laced, what if this really happened and let's treat it serious.
Mm-hmm.
So the silly aspects of it, I think, are like some of the down parts that you were talking about, but it doesn't matter because it makes for a more engaging film.
Mm-hmm.
So I 100% agree there. And I found, you know, retrospectively, still enjoying this film for the most part.
Yep.
All right, so as a plot, I mean, it's simple plot. Imagine that. I get on my soapbox and say it.
A good movie? A simple plot? What?
What? Bomb on a bus can't stop. What do we do? But it's compelling because, you know, you have really good characters and the ideas behind these characters, like bad guy, good guy. They don't have to have a lot of depth to them.
Yep.
Not the important part of, you know, for story-wise. The story is the bomb on a bus, okay?
Yep.
And it can't stop. And you just play that throughout the movie, and then you have your conclusion. And that ratchets everything up. And really, I mean, is it a deep, dark Godfather? No. No, it's not. But it's made to be a popcorn film. And this story lends itself to that popcorn film feeling.
Mm-hmm. To me, I kind of see this like a cat and mouse game, where we kind of have like this bomber or whatever. He starts off with this one bomb scheme or whatever, and it's up to our cops to try to like save the people and maybe possibly catch, you know, the bomber. And then, you know, if the bomber escapes, it's on to the next plot. Bomber comes up with a new idea and stuff. And I think this plays out, you know, multiple times, you know, through the movie. Plot, trying to stop it, save the people, try to get them. Next plot, try to stop them, save the people. Next time, you know, trying to stop them or whatever, save something, whatever. So this is that common thread that I see on for the story. And it works and stuff, too. Like, you know, we're going to get into characters, but like you said, too, with our characters, like, good and bad. Like, we don't need to have, like, huge, deep stories into it because they drive the story enough, you know, playing their roles in this movie.
That's a pun.
Alright, for me, you know, the two characters that stand out, I guess, for a lot of people, when you think of Speed, it's like, oh, well, you know, we have Keanu Reeves and we have, like, Sandra Bullock in it. Now, they aren't necessarily my favorite characters, and I'll get to my favorite characters a little bit, but think about that. To me, this is the first movie that they really stood out to me for. I mean, I watched Bill and Ted, so I knew Keanu Reeves in that, but I don't think that was like a stand-up.
Yeah.
Yep. And then seeing this, I'm like, I actually like Keanu Reeves' portrayal in this much more than, you know, another movie that we did. They did action or whatever. It was a Point Break. I prefer his character in this. And then Sandra Bullock, I mean, this movie and this performance actually started me on, like, you know what? I like Sandra Bullock. I'm going to go seek or watch other movies that have Sandra Bullock in it. So, like, those characters to start off, you know, I liked those characters for this movie.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure I know who your favorite character is.
Oh, who could my favorite character be?
You know, you're right. When you think about Speed, you see on the cover, you see Sandra Bullock, you see Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
They're on the cover. They're in the movie poster. Dennis Hopper plays a really good bad guy in this film. And it doesn't have to be this deep, dark, complicated storyline. he just thinks he's due something.
Yep.
You know? And he wants it. He wants revenge. And that's fine. That's fine for this antagonist, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think what's interesting here is with Dennis Hopper's character, they went, and they say this several times in the movie. They went like crazy, not dumb, not stupid, basically.
Remember, crazy, not stupid.
That made a really good antagonist because he is a smart person. He does think of all of these contingencies, thinking he's outsmarted all of the good guys. I've thought of everything. You're so stupid. You're just a dumb cop, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But it, like you said, it's driving the plot forward every time one of his trips and his traps go off, and then the protagonists have to constantly try and come up with new ways. Like, all right, we have to outthink him. We have to outdo him some way. We have to outsmart him.
Yep.
You know, he's a smart character, and now it's on us to outsmart the smart character.
Dennis Hopper's just such a good 90s movie villain actor. Like, lots of different movies in the 90s where he's a villain, I think he's good at.
Come on. Come on.
I mean,
King Koopa.
But yeah, he's King Koopa, you know. Yeah. Even though that movie isn't great, I do still like Dennis Hopper.
Yes.
So yes, Dennis Hopper definitely stand out for me. And, you know, like you said, as a character, it's good. I'm glad that he's not this crazy, like, over-the-top thing. He's, like you said, crazy for, you know, he's still smart or whatever, just doesn't have good intention stuff.
Yeah, he's got his goals in mind. He actually reminds me a lot of another big, 90s action movie bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
With Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yep.
Crazy, not stupid.
Not stupid.
You know?
Another character from like kid watching that, I'm like, oh, I know that person, and that's Jeff Daniels. Partially because he's from Michigan, and Dumb and Dumber came out the same year, and I think, does he play Harry in both of these movies? So, Harry, same year. So, yeah, I was watching like, hey, yeah, that's Jeff Daniels.
That is Jeff Daniels. And, he does a good job because, like, he's shot early in the leg, so, like, he has to do this kind of office desk job, desk jockey for a little bit while he's recuperating.
Yep.
But he's making himself useful. He's figuring out things. He's the brains of the operation on the good guy side of things, basically. So yeah, these characters are all interesting without being ridiculously in-depth, over-the-top done. Just good guy, not willing to let a whole bus of people get blown up for, someone who's seeking revenge on him,
mm-hmm.
and a bad guy who's just like, I just want the money. And that's fine.
Yep.
All right, so it's an action movie, but you know what? It's kind of a 90s action movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not non-stop action.
Mm-hmm.
You have your action set pieces, stuff goes on. Action set pieces, stuff goes on. But I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good amount, a good balance between the character stuff that needs to happen, talking, where you have the back and the forth between Keanu Reeves and Dennis Hopper's characters, and then you have a bomb go off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with the balance of this action film.
Yeah, I kind of go with action thriller a little bit because I would kind of go on the thrill part of it. We keep having like another challenge, coming up and trying to overcome that challenge. I mean, even with like the bus ride, like so many things just happen with like the bus, like whether it's traffic's coming up. How do we deal with getting around traffic? Oh, we got this big turn coming up. How do we deal with this big turn? Oh, we got a person who thinks a cop's on here to arrest him, and that leads to another incident. Like, we have this another one, so we're building like a little bit of tension as we're going too. And the other aspect of kind of like that thriller time, like the cat and mouse kind of thing too,
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of leads up like, hey, we're getting close to the bomber, and then something happens that makes the bomber farther away, and then we're building that back up again as we're getting like clues to like who the bomber is, and we're honing in on it. So that's the kind of things I like that, and I think it makes it interesting. Like I said, not too over the top or whatever, at least in the beginning when it comes to that stuff when action.
Yeah, it's important. I think that's a kind of a textbook of 90s action films.
Mm-hmm.
Is you do have big, interesting set pieces, and you left like the over-the-topness to disaster films. 90s action films were not as over-the-top as today's action films are, which they need to do kind of to stand out against the comic book films.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good balance. I'm happy that we, knew where to stop. And you like you said, the ratcheting the tension up.
Yep.
Ratcheting the tension up a little bit. Winding, Keanu Reeves' characters, just winding him up a little bit. Next stunt.
Well, another thing about this one, it isn't one of those where everything's just reactionary all of a sudden. Like, oh, wow, like, bad guy just showed up. I gotta quick, blow up the bad guy or something like that. There is, like, a little bit of, like, planning in that. Like, you see, like, the wheels turning in a lot of our different characters and stuff. Like, all right, I have this problem. How do I deal with this problem?
Yes.
Let's put that plan in motion.
Yeah, definitely.
Granted, this is a movie that we've already seen and we know pretty well. I didn't see coming how much I was actually going to laugh during this movie watching it now. So I think a lot of the stuff going on is pretty like, oh, I can believe that's going to happen and stuff too. And there's things that I know that's going to happen, but watching it on screen now, I'm surprised that I actually laughed. All right, so the two scenes I will go on that I did kind of chuckle at a little bit. One is, the infamous bus jumping the 50-foot gap or whatever
Yes.
it is, 50 feet, 50 yards, or I think it's 50 feet, right? 50 feet.
It's just 50 feet, which is believable.
Yeah, but it's almost like a one percent or whatever, incline or whatever to go. It just Mythbusters has done it. It's pretty. So watching that, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, yeah. But as I was at the beginning, I can overlook a lot of its shortcomings because it's enjoyable. It's actually fun to watch. The other part that kind of chuckled at was when Dennis Hopper's villain actually goes on top of the train to basically chase down Keanu Reeves' character. Like, why?
Because
why at that point?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's when something gets a little bit away.
Yeah.
But he's angry because the paint bomb goes off. And
Yeah.
You've now ruined both my plans.
I'm gonna go and get you.
And I'm so angry with you, and I've lost control.
Yeah. I'm gonna go on top of the train.
It's fair. It's a fair point. All right, for me, I'm watching this movie, and I'm going through the opening credits, and I'm like, dun, 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 dun. I'm like, wait, that's the theme for Bad Boys. Immediately pause. I'm like, is this the same composer? Did he steal his own thing like Guy Encino does all the time? Where it's just like Doctor Strange and Star Trek have similar beats in them. They're both Mark Mancina. And I'm like, he stole from himself. And then I was like, wait, Bad Boys came out in 1995. Bad Boys stole from Speed, not the other way around. And I'm like, all right, is that the only time I'm gonna hear it? So I continue on with my viewing experience. It shows up later, and it shows up again, and I'm like, and this is something that they let happen? It's like, again, I'll bring another one. James Horner did this. The theme that he used for Wrath of Khan, he reuses in Aliens. Seriously, happens a lot, but I was totally not expecting it, and it's been a while since I watched it, and I'm like, huh, okay then.
Yeah, that's something I definitely did not pick up on. Now I'm gonna have to watch again and be like, oh yeah.
I promise you it's there. All right, so for the most part, as I already said, I still liked this movie. There's some bad acting in this film, especially among the bus, the extended cast, and maybe Sandra Bullock's not in her prime yet as an actress. And Keanu Reeves seems like he's trying a little too hard to play the tough guy. Where you hear I'm trying to be a tough guy. A little bit, But it doesn't matter, because there's still a lot of tense moments, and there's still enough chemistry, specifically between the bad guy and the good guy, the villain and the hero, to carry the movie through, that I ignore some of the bad acting, I ignore some of the obvious plot holes, and just sit back, relax, have a fun time watching a movie.
'Cause it's fun, Randall. It's fun.
It's fun. It's a movie.
It's so much fun, Chan. Get it?
And I guess that was my big thing about this conclusion. This is a fun movie to watch. It is a fun action movie, and like we were saying, the events and stuff actually carry this movie through and stuff. To the next one. Enjoy throughout. And this is a movie that I not only still like, but it's a movie that I am going to continue watching for that reason. It's enjoyable. It's fun.
That's why I go back and watch 90s movies. A lot of the times they're just fun.
They're just fun. Who wants to see a movie? We do. It's fun.
It's just fun.
But let us know what you guys think about Speed. Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out some of our other reviews. We have other flashback movie reviews. We also take a look at new movies, look at TV shows, and we have deeper dive discussions.
But of course, you should also check us out on Facebook if you haven't already. We post there the day before what's coming up next on YouTube and some tidbits from some of our other fandoms. We also post on a schedule, though. If you don't want to bother with Facebook, that's fine. New videos every Monday and Thursday. For now, I'm Randall here with No Market Media. See everyone next time.
And I'm Matt. Have a good day, everyone. Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.